Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and busts. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, more crazy comments coming indeed from Democrats from all the different states virtually. You got New York saying, guess what? We think we should block funding for Homeland Security, which includes FEMA and TSA. That's the, security screening at the airport and everything else. Are you kidding me? FEMA, those are the ones who are tied to storms and all these different things. And they're saying, no, we should cut all of the different services. We should block them because we do not want to fund ICE. It is preposterous. I'm also going to play some other crazy comments that are coming from people like Eric Swalwell, who says, I'm going to make sure that they don't have any federal jobs, and I'm going to make sure that they don't even have driver's licenses. This is sheer lunacy. But that's the battle that's going to happen this week in Congress as the funding bill comes up for a vote. Meantime, President Trump says, look, we're going to look at everything. We're going to check out all angles. We're going to find out all the details. You heard Robert, who called earlier. I disagree. He makes it sound like Alex Pretti just happened to be walking by in the area. There seems to be more to the story than that. But what exactly it is, let's find out. But he did have a loaded gun. He had 2 cartridges that were loaded. And now we're hearing that he had an altercation, according to CNN, a week before, where he had a broken rib for having an altercation with 5 ICE officers. So then you keep going and then you continue with these groups and show up again to agitate even more, and then you bring a loaded gun? It doesn't smell right to me. It doesn't sound good to me. Here is President Trump saying, yeah, we're going to check out everything. And I like how he's being measured. He said, look, we're going to do a fair investigation. Here's President Trump just a few hours ago.
Do you believe that Alex Pretti's death was justified?
Well, we're doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
You can't really hear that, you guys, but what essentially it is, because he's by the chopper, he's leaving, obviously. What he said is, we're going to be doing a big investigation on the death of Alex Pretti. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. So bravo to him. I mean, he's saying we want to make sure we check everything out. It's absolutely important. And that is the right thing to do. I want to play cut number 4 right now. This is cut number 4 with President Trump. And here he is. He's asked about Kristi Noem because he changed, obviously, sort of some of the management there, overseeing Minneapolis. And he said, I back her 100%. Listen to this.
Do you still have confidence in DHS Secretary Kristi Noem? You brought up the success at the border.
Look,
you do.
She was there with the border. Who closed up the border? She did, with Tom Homan, with the whole group. I mean, they closed up the border. The border is a tremendous success, one of the most secure borders in the entire world. We were a laughingstock 1.5 years ago for the whole world. The whole world laughed at us. I had friends that said, is that real? They'd look at a picture. You've been down to the border. They'd look at a picture of the border with hundreds of thousands of people pouring in like it was water. And they said, is that really taken? They can't believe it. They think it's one of these crazy movies that they make. The border was horrible. It was horrible. I did the border twice. First time I won, 2016, I won on the border. But that border was nothing, and I fixed it immediately. It was great. We had great years, and we had a great economy. We had the best economy in history in 2016, my first term. And we rebuilt the military, and we get the largest regulation cuts. We had the best job number. We had a great first term. This term seems to be blowing it away. I mean, the only thing we have is a Minnesota situation, and that is, I believe, easily resolved.
Okay.
And then he was asked about Tom Homan. he was asked, what do you think? You're bringing in Tom Homan to oversee Minneapolis. And this is what he had to say about our friend Tom Homan, the border czar.
Tom is fantastic. Tom is a tough guy, but I've watched over the years, and he's gotten along with governors and he gets along with mayors. Some people don't. Some people just want to do their job and leave me alone. And that's sort of okay, too. That's generally been okay. Most of them are happy. Memphis, Tennessee, very tough, very straightforward. We're taking the criminal out. We're getting them out, either putting them in jail, because some are so bad that you don't want to send them to where they came from because you're afraid they're going to come back. They're murderers. So some are very down and straight, and others, Tom, I've noticed, as tough as he is, he gets along very good with governors and mayors. Now, I spoke to the mayor and to the governor yesterday, and they want to see it cleared up.
And I love this. Even Melania Trump, there is a new great film that's coming out about her life. I can't wait to see it. But Melania Trump spoke out today on Fox News, and she had some words about what's going on in Minnesota and Minneapolis specifically. Take a listen.
We need to unify. I'm calling for unity. I know my husband, the president, had a great call yesterday with the governor and the mayor, and they're working together to make it peaceful and without riots. I'm against the violence, so if we protest in peace.
Great. And listen, that is the message also from President Trump. Imagine if Governor Walz had done the same thing, if Jacob Frey had done the same thing, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation to begin with. And the chaos that is clearly wreaking havoc there in Minneapolis. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey on line 4. Go ahead, Sandra.
Good evening, Rita. So when John Fetterman said Kristi Noem, she should not have the job at all, I don't agree with him, but I do believe in this instance she should step aside. I have a feeling it's a chemistry problem, and she doesn't have the right chemistry to deal with these two lunatics, the governor and the mayor there. And I remember when J.D. Vance had that debate with Tim Walz. Tim Walz became very humble. He was different because Vance knew how to handle him. So I think Tom Homan is the perfect person to intervene at this point, and I think he should have done it sooner because this is very, very hard to do for anyone to do.
I was about to say, I think it's such a complicated and emotional and highly charged. I mean, I agree. Right. I wish that something had changed earlier on. Right. Look, I mean, but the bottom line is, had Homan and Jacob Frey told their constituents to cooperate and don't resist ICE, and if you do, we're going to arrest you. And if they had also told local law enforcement to work with ICE, then ICE wouldn't feel like they're cornered and out there flailing by themselves. That's one. And then the other is also, then people wouldn't feel emboldened to go out and protest. So, I mean, I really also, the flames have been brewing clearly for a long time. I mean, look, Minneapolis still hasn't recovered from COVID because that was the site of all those major riots during George Floyd where the police station burned to the ground, Sandra. So, right. And who was there? Jacob Frey and also Tim Walz. What a surprise. Same timing. But so I do think it is a tough situation. And I hear what you're saying. I think maybe President Trump should have made some changes earlier in terms of bringing in someone like Homan. But I also think we've been hearing from President Trump in the last, few weeks and days, especially saying, look, we are going to really give it to sanctuary cities. If you're going to stay a sanctuary city, we're not going to send you funds. And he keeps saying February 1st is the deadline. Now that's coming up quickly. So let's see what happens February 1st. And so far, Tim Walz, it sounds like when he talks to President Trump, they have a nice conversation. But then afterwards, he said, well, I told him they got to get out of Minnesota. Trump's not going to get out of Minnesota. And by the way, he should not get out of Minnesota, because if he gets out of Minnesota, all these crazy protesters are going to feel they won. And then protesters in other cities are going to do the same thing. So he's got to
Exactly.
figure out a way to balance it. But he also has to make sure that, protesters are safe and certainly our law enforcement are safe. That's 100%. Your thoughts?
Well, I wanted to say one more thing about the nurse Pretti, whatever his name is. I feel so sad about that. Whenever I look at him, I think, oh, my God, he should be here. This shouldn't have happened. But it happened. Okay. I do remember reading that his father told him, you're going to go protest, you better behave yourself. I read that, and I also read that he went there because he was very angry about what happened to Renee Good. So those are just two things I wanted to mention. You might have heard it. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard some reports of that too. And then this other report that I brought up tonight, you heard about this, that apparently, according to CNN, he had a rib broken, an anti-ICE protest a week before.
I have a question about that. My friend fell and she broke her rib. She can't get around. So how come this guy is able to go out and go protest so quickly a week later? I never broke a rib.
Yeah, I thought
like.
that was odd too. Now, two things, Sandra. One, he is a nurse. Let's not forget about that. So maybe he knew some, good medical trick. That's one. And two, it's according to this friend is saying that's what he told the friend. So we don't know if he, I don't know if he ever got we don't know if he ever went to the emergency room or if he just told somebody they broke my rib, but maybe it wasn't really broke. I mean, who knows? We don't know. We'll find out.
One more thing that I did notice tonight, they showed two different pictures of him. One, the same photo, and one was doctored up. In one photo, he looks a little bit messy, a little drop. The other one, he looks, wow, fabulous, handsome, clean-cut nurse. I don't know. So they're playing around with the photos a little bit, too, to make you think whatever they want you to think. Look, my immediate reaction when I saw him, Rita, I was sad. I know everybody rides a bike, so does he. I know everybody does wonderful things in hospitals like he did. He just looked like a guy that was happy, that he liked his life. He was a happy person. I could be totally wrong. We're going to learn everything as time goes on. But like Joaquin said, you don't bring a gun to a place like that. But maybe, like you mentioned, maybe he brought it because he was, the rib broke and he was angry and he wanted to protect himself like that stupid AG woman from Arizona said. Bring a gun to protect yourself, and then waving that phone in front of the officer, that made me think of Tim Walz. Oh, bring your phone, take videos. So he was like showing it to him, like antagonizing him, like, look what I have. I have a phone. And that phone could be a weapon, too.
Yeah, you don't know. By the way, I hate to say it. You honestly, you don't know. You don't know. Is it a phone? Is there something else? You don't know what he was saying. I mean, and then
get hit by the phone.
Right. Yeah, that too. Although, and look, he was apparently around that area before. And apparently, he was on, sort of a list of folks that at least the federal authorities were aware of as being an agitator. So that's the other thing. I'm wondering, do they go, oh God, here's this guy again, be on the lookout because he got in a fight with us the week before, maybe, according to this report. So there's a lot of new details that we to be explored, right? We got to figure out what the real story is there. Sandra, thank you. Always great to hear from you. Let's go to Norman in Brooklyn, line 2. Go ahead, Norm.
Yeah, hi, Rita. Okay, my first observation is of Jacob Frey and Tim Walz. I would add them to my list of thalidomide baby, developmentally disabled thalidomide babies. Anyway, Jacob Frey looks like that boy needs to take a bath, in my opinion. Okay, now with you played something of a guy screaming to get out on the streets, to go whatever, get your guns and all that.
Yeah,
and
this is a crazy guy.
I'm a member of Antifa.
Yes, this is a guy who claims he's a member of Antifa.
A lot of Antifa people in the past. I used to scream at them and they would scream at me. And they never admit that they're Antifa. It's
so
like
is this
Club.
is this an Antifa wannabe, Norm? Is this an Antifa wannabe? I mean, either way, his vitriol is pretty scary, though. You got to admit that.
Yeah, that's why it's almost a put on, and or this could be the new Antifa, where they, say it loud and say it proud. I'm Antifa. I don't know. I mean, they always kind of were like the Klan, They kind of just kept it under wraps, until they did their thing, and they didn't talk about it, that they're they never spoke about Antifa, about there being, membership dues or whatever, club meetings, whatever. They just don't talk about it.
Well, this could, like you said, Norm, this could be the new say it loud, say it proud, new version of Antifa, because boy, it seems like all the different protesters feel very emboldened of late, unfortunately. 1-800-848-9222. We'll continue, guys, after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls, guys, here on the Rita Cosby Show as tensions remain high in Minneapolis. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Lauren in New Jersey on line 2. Go ahead, Lauren.
Hey, Rita. Yeah, along the lines of things that make you go, isn't it interesting that the Dems aren't spouting all about gun control? Suddenly, guns aren't so bad, are they?
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Isn't the hypocrisy interesting, right?
Oh, it's so predictable. And the whole thing is repulsive because, again, ICE is out there to protect the American people and do the right thing for us. And yet, here we go, the hypocrisy. So maybe the Dems are starting to feel differently that, yeah, we are all perfectly able to practice our Second Amendment rights, but this individual did a completely inappropriate thing. And yet they're not talking about gun control. So, yeah, there it is again.
It is. It is again. It's the rules, for me, but not for thee. Very, very apt and very on point, Lauren. And you're right. They're like, oh, he had a right to be there. He had a right to be there. Even trying to get gun groups on board. Let's see what the investigation uncovers, because I still have a lot of questions about this guy.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on.
Today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And as many of you know, my own father, who's a Polish Catholic, grew up just outside of the Warsaw Ghetto, and as a young teenager, tried to help those inside the ghetto walls. We must never, ever forget what happened when 6 million Jews were murdered. And joining us now is Masha Pearl. She is the executive director of a powerful and very impactful organization, the Blue Card. It is a Holocaust survivor support organization, and it's making a big difference. And joining us now is Masha. Masha, I'm so honored to have you here on this important day. Tell everybody, our millions of listeners, why this is so important and why everybody, all generations, especially younger generations, need to understand what happened so it cannot ever happen again.
Well, thank you so much, Rita. First of all, I just want to start by saying thank you so much for having me on. And I'm a huge fan of yours, and I've known you for many years, and you have been such an advocate for Holocaust survivors, for those who don't have voices. And I read your book, which really touched me and actually changed the course of my life. And just the amount of giving back that you do is truly inspiring. And
thank you.
Speaking to you today.
By the way, I'm honored because you guys are really honoring true living jewels, true heroes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And today, just being able to speak with you on Holocaust Remembrance Day, it is a really solemn day. It's a difficult day for those who survived, for those who have lost survivors, and those who have lost people in the concentration camps. And really, we remember the 6 million that perished simply because they were Jews. And really, we recommit to never again. And never again isn't just a slogan. It's something that we live every day and we carry out. And the Blue Card is really here to, number one, help those survivors who need assistance. And then number two is to carry on the legacy of those that didn't survive and to bear the torch and to tell their stories to ensure that none of this ever happens again. And really, there are so many survivors still left among us, although the numbers are declining. So there are 40 to 50,000 survivors living in the United States, and the majority live in New York. So between 14 to 15,000 live in New York City, and the Blue Card really concentrates on helping survivors throughout the country. And of course, in New York, just providing them with basic essentials and needs. And secondly, the education piece is constantly coming up with innovative programs and tools to educate younger generations and to stop anti-Semitism as it forms in its tracks.
You know, you talked about anti-Semitism, and I can't even imagine what's going on through the mind, especially of the Holocaust survivors. You mentioned the 14 or 15,000 in New York City and around the globe.
Yes.
That are seeing what's happening in this country and elsewhere. How do they cope with it? What do they tell you? And how concerned when they see this rise of anti-Semitism, which to me is just so hateful, so shocking, and so horrible?
It is really, we get calls, we get letters and emails from survivors very frequently where they're very afraid, and there are incidences that remind them of Germany circa 1930s, or Poland, or Hungary, or Ukraine, or where they came from. And they ask me questions like, Masha, will this happen again? And should I be worried? And what can I do? And they're glued to the radios. They are watching the news and they're reading the papers, and they are very scared. And the Blue Card and myself, we're here to reassure them. We're speaking out on their behalf. We're here to protect them. And I think that it's very important to listen to survivors' stories, and while they're with us, to really fight anti-Semitism and to just shed light on the dangers of what can happen when hatred goes unchecked. And it's alarming. There's hate crimes. There need to be regulations put into place. There needs to be more awareness. There needs to be more safety around places of worship for those people so that they can worship safely and privately. And, so much that can be done, that needs to be done and should be done. And that's what the Blue Card is here to help.
How can people who are listening right now, especially on this Holocaust Remembrance Day, and of course, symbolizing the famous anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp, how can people help and try to make a difference through Blue Card? What can they do?
Yes, well, there are so many ways people can help. First, there are survivors among us who are struggling to make basic ends meet and who need assistance with dental care, with food, with rent and housing, with transportation and medication. So it's supporting survivors financially, as many survivors live at or below the federal poverty level. And it's just helping them to live out their final years with dignity and just ensure that they can age independently in their homes and they don't have to feel forced to enter an institution such as assisted living or a nursing home, as that symbolizes losing control again. And it's helping them. It's volunteering to help them to carry out their basic daily activities, take them for a walk, help with their sorting of their mail or paying their bills or making a phone call, going to an appointment. it's also just providing this companionship, because isolation and loneliness are such a silent killer. And it's just something that many survivors struggle with, especially when it's cold and they're being shut in. But at the same time, many are struggling even being in the house with not running their heat, as heating costs are very high. So all of those things need to be taken into consideration, and survivors should be helped on a holistic level, right? So it's the entire person. It's calling them. It's writing a card. It's remembering their birthdays. All the things that the Blue Card does, including providing them with a telephone emergency response system, helping keep them safe in case of an emergency. And also it's just retelling their stories, listening to survivor stories, making sure to attend Holocaust Remembrance Day activities, and, standing up to anti-Semitism whenever something presents itself. So if you see something, say something.
You're right, 100%. And letting them know that we love them, we appreciate them, we honor them, and we honor their memory, too, by doing actions every single day, as you all said. And we're all in this together, Jewish and non-Jews. Stand up against evil and stand up for these heroes. I just want to tell everybody, go to bluecardfund.org to find out more. You are an incredible organization. I've seen it firsthand, the lives that you are changing, the lives you're saving, and how beautifully you're honoring these living testaments to resilience. Truly.
Thank
Masha
you, Rita.
Pearl.
Thank you again.
Thank you very
really
much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. And thinking of you and all the incredible survivors and those who did not survive. It's an important anniversary, and we're so honored to be able to shine a light and make sure we never, ever forget. Thank you, Masha.
Yes, thank you. And the survivors, thank you, Rita.
Thank you so much, Masha. And I'm so glad you could join us on such an important night. We will never, ever forget. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Phil in the Bronx on line 4. We, of course, have been talking about Minneapolis and so much more. Go ahead, Phil.
Rita, I've got a bombshell for you.
Okay, go ahead. Give me the bombshell. I love it.
All right. Now, you know that these anti-ICE protesters have backers, and they got a group, and they communicate through Signal.
Yes.
Okay, you're going to love this. And I verified it twice through 2 different sources. During World War II, the Nazis, the Wehrmacht, under Hitler and such, propaganda minister,
yes,
they put out a magazine. They used to sneak these magazines and distribute them in countries around Europe and even in the United States. In this magazine was all kinds of propaganda against the government of the United States, but it was nicely worded, if you get my meaning.
Yeah.
And there was also bad words about the Jews. Now, the interesting thing was this Professor Lichterman and another guy, I can't remember his name right now, they both said the same thing, that within this magazine, during World War II, that was circulated throughout Europe, occupied countries in the United States, there were hidden references, there were codes, which they used, and I quote from the book, these codes were understood by sympathizers to the cause of Nazism and the overthrow of the American government. Okay? And the magazine was called The Signal.
Oh, wow. That is interesting. That's the first I've heard of that. I'm going to definitely look into that. So now you've got the Signal app, which, by the way, a number of people, the Signal app, I've heard of it. A lot of people have used it because it's sort of an encrypted process. It's supposed to be, much more private than Cell, and especially if you're like high profile, some individuals I know use the Signal app. They'll use different sort of apps to communicate and think they're more protective. But that is interesting. Your point is that you believe what? That they're drawn to it because of the history of it?
Principle that was in the magazine during World War II, that it is today. They're promulgating their propaganda out to people who are receptive to harming the government, harming the agents, but it's in a form of code. There's certain code references, certain key words. It's the same thing as that magazine did.
No, that is fascinating. That is now. Let me ask you, Phil, in this form, and you're right. It is fascinating that they're having these sort of private chats and private groups and private communications, just like in the old days. It's magazines, because obviously they certainly didn't have apps or anything like that. But what do you make of the fact that it's the lieutenant governor of Minnesota who is apparently the administrator of one of these apps, one of these Signal app, like group chats? I don't know if you listened earlier today on Katz and Cosby on WABC. Judge Weinberg and I and John, we were all talking, and Judge Weinberg brought up this said, why is that not aiding, abetting, and obstructing? When you say, hey, go out to such and such a corner, show up, do what you can, disturb them. We're hearing that they're going to be going. By the way, if you go on like social media, you see that, oh, look, they're on Signal right now, guys, and they're trying to track down ICE officers. Go to their hotels, storm their hotels, the lobbies. A lot of hotels have been trashed. Why are they not charged with trespassing, with interfering with ICE operations? I mean, you would think if they're in these Signal chats, which again are meant to be encrypted a little bit, but there's at least some sort of a record if law enforcement should be able to get into them and get all the names and say, how is that legal to say, here's where so-and-so lives, show up, or they're about to do a bust on this street. And apparently that's what they did in this particular case where Alex Pretti was, that a number of people that had gone out earlier were getting tips that, oh, they're going to be here today. Go out there. So first of all, how did they find out they're going to go out there? You wonder, are they listening on some device? Do they have somebody on the inside? Are they listening to communications? I mean, there's many things that could potentially be happening. That's a whole other matter. But if they're getting tips that they're going to a certain place and they're showing up and that blocks law enforcement from doing an arrest, why are they not throwing the book at them, Phil, right?
Why? Because he's got a whole block of influencers behind him who are whispering to the Democrats in Washington, make every noise you can not to let this happen. We need him talking like this. He is as guilty as sin. He is directly involved with the billions in fraud with the Somalis. He also is a sympathizer, apparently, like you said, against the ICE agents. He is calling for harm to be done to them. If 40, 50 years ago, if a guy like that would have said what he said, what he's saying now, he would have been thrown in federal prison for 30 years.
Who are you talking about? That Antifa guy, the guy who I played? That's different. You're talking about that, or who are you talking about?
I'm talking about any politician, mayor or governor, who says what they've been saying. What they've been saying in Minnesota and Minneapolis, in Chicago, it's incredible.
It is. It is.
Years ago, they'd be in federal prison for 30 years.
I agree, Phil. It's extraordinary, and it's so dangerous, and it's shocking. And that's why I actually think, and tell me if you agree with me on this, Phil, I think that the Trump administration should have been tougher on these folks that have been, churning the flames and inspiring. I'm glad the DOJ is looking into Walz and Frey, but that should have happened, I think, a lot earlier. You can't let these people say, we're going to show up and block an arrest. We're going to tell them to get out on the streets. We're going to say, ICE, get out of it. I mean, it really is extraordinary. And if we have time later on in the show, we may not have that much tonight, but I will try to play it tomorrow, guys. It was interesting because I was talking with Bill O'Reilly earlier in the week, and he brought up a very powerful analogy that what we're seeing now is looking a lot like pre-Civil War when they were like preparing for the, quote, insurrection. I mean, he makes no distinction, and he's not like a hyperbole guy. He just said, if you look at history and you look at what's happening, that's how dangerous this moment is, and that the Trump administration must clamp down, must get a handle of it. It's great that the president's trying to temper flames, but also must be tough love in certain places too. Phil, great comments. I'm going to look up that magazine that you just brought up. That is very powerful. And looking forward to talking with you tomorrow night, Phil. Thank you so much. And everybody, we're going to take a quick break, 1-800-848-9222. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Fort Wayne, Indiana, where a special Quilts of Valor ceremony was recently held to honor veteran Master Sergeant Ken Sue of the U.S. Air Force, who served from 1970 to 1992. He served in multiple locations, including in Vietnam. And throughout his career, veteran Sue also served as an instructor at Tactical Air Command and received several military honors. And everybody, America's heroes need your help. Donate just $11 a month to make an incredible difference with this extraordinary organization, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Check them out. They do so much good for our veterans and their families. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls, guys. Has there been any breakthrough with Minneapolis? It's interesting because Governor Walz puts out a statement after his conversation with President Trump and also with Tom Homan in person, the Homan discussion just a few hours ago. And apparently he says, I told them no retribution. As if, what, they're sending ICE there for retribution? Because what, Somali fraud? I would say, where's Walz condemning the fraud? I missed that. He seems to be more angry at ICE than billions of dollars of fraud that's been happening in his state. So I would say a lot of these protests maybe are a little bit of a deflection, if you will, from what's really going on there in Minnesota. Let's go to Tony and Clifton. Go ahead, Tony. Your thoughts tonight on line 4.
You know, Rita, all this I have to say is Governor Walz and your terrorist-driven, China-friendly state, your days are numbered. Because when Tom Homan gets there, you're going to have one chance to say you're sorry and fix things. Otherwise, midterm or no midterm, your days are numbered. I called the governor's office up, and every American who feels the way I do can do this, and I said, you're going to jail. You deserve to go to jail. And President Trump is just so gracious to you.
Oh, by the way, I love that you did that, Tony. What you have to do is you got to let me know if you get a call back. Maybe one day he'll say, hi, this is Governor Walz. This is Tampon Tim Walz calling you back. Thank you for your call. Can you imagine that guy was a heartbeat away from being vice president?
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.